What if I told you that by the end of this video, you'll see Fight Club in a completely new light? That the twist you thought you understood goes much deeper than just he was Tyler all along. Stay with me, because you came here to understand the mind-bending heart of Fight Club, the secret engine driving its chaos. And by the time we're done, you'll know exactly why this story still punches audiences in the gut decades later. Welcome in, everyone. Today we're diving into one of the most iconic and psychologically charged characters in modern storytelling, Tyler Durden, and the man who created him. We're peeling back the layers of Fight Club to understand not just the twist, but the emotional, philosophical, and moral descent that leads to it. We'll explore the narrator, who we'll call Jack for familiarity, his fractured identity, the birth of Tyler, the rise of Fight Club, the evolution into Project Mayhem, and the crucial differences between the novel and the film that reshape how we interpret everything. We'll stay within the world of the original story, not the later sequel comics, because as interesting as those continuations are, they pull the narrative into territory that muddies the clarity of the original tale. So for now, we stay with the core story that shook pop culture and still sparks debates today. Before we step into the dark corners of Jack's mind, let's briefly indulge in the same consumerist world this story criticizes, because irony is part of the fun. We begin with Jack, a man whose backstory is deliberately sparse. We know his father left early in his life, vanishing from the picture and leaving behind an emotional absence that quietly shapes everything that follows. Aside from that, Jack's past is a blank canvas. The story doesn't hand us detailed childhood trauma or elaborate history. Instead, it drops us into the present, a man in his 30s, emotionally hollow, physically exhausted, and mentally unraveling. Jack works for an automobile corporation as a recall coordinator. His job is grim in a uniquely modern way. He travels across the country investigating fatal accidents, studying twisted metal and shattered bodies, calculating whether human lives lost are cheaper to pay off or expensive enough to warrant a product recall. It's not just morbid, it's mechanized death processed through spreadsheets and corporate policy. Jack is face-to-face with mortality on a regular basis, yet surrounded by sterile offices, business-class flights, and scripted phone calls. The work erodes something inside him. He's witnessing tragedy while serving a system that reduces it to numbers. At the same time, his personal life is empty. He lives alone in a condo he's filled with catalog furniture. Every chair, every table, every lamp is something he ordered because it looked right in a picture. He's built a home the way someone assembles a product display, and he recognizes it. His possessions own him, not the other way around. Yet he keeps buying, chasing brief hits of satisfaction that fade as quickly as the shipping confirmation emails. Layered on top of this is relentless travel. Airports, hotels, rental cars, constant motion with no real destination. The routine scrambles his circadian rhythm, and combined with his emotional numbness, culminates in severe insomnia. By the start of the story, Jack hasn't had a real sleep in months. He's awake in a world that feels dreamlike, watching late-night infomercials, eating junk food, and drifting through days like a ghost. His reflection looks unfamiliar. His voice sounds distant to himself. He's unraveling. Desperate, he goes to a doctor, hoping for medication, but the doctor gives him something far stranger than a prescription. He tells Jack that insomnia is not real suffering, that if Jack wants to understand pain, he should attend a support group for people with testicular cancer. The advice is blunt and dismissive, but Jack follows it. This is where something unexpected happens. In the support group, Jack finds what he has been missing for years: emotional connection. These people hug, they cry openly, they share fears without judgment. And when Jack joins them, when he rests his head on someone's shoulder and finally lets tears fall, he experiences the release he's been craving. That night, he sleeps, for the first time in months. So he keeps going, not just to that group, but to others: parasite survivors, blood disease meetings, addiction circles. He moves from room to room, collecting borrowed pain like currency. It becomes his nightly ritual, his emotional oxygen. He doesn't have real friends or family. He doesn't have anyone to talk to honestly in his day-to-day life. These strangers become his temporary emotional anchors. He calls them single-serving friends, people he'll never see again once the meeting ends. And for nearly 2 years, this strange routine stabilizes him. It's a fragile equilibrium, but it works. Until Marla Singer walks in. Marla is a mirror held up to Jack's deception. She's another person who doesn't belong in these groups, another tourist in suffering. The moment Jack sees her, something inside him recoils. Because now, his secret is no longer unique. Now someone else is exploiting the same emotional space he is. And worse, she makes him feel seen. If she's fake, then he is too. And that realization cracks the fragile system he built to survive. Jack confronts Marla, furious at her presence. They argue, they accuse, and eventually they strike a deal. Divide the support groups between them so they never have to see each other again. On paper, it solves the problem, but the damage is already done. The guilt has surfaced. The insomnia returns. Jack goes days without sleep. He starts drifting into micro-blackouts. He wakes up in unfamiliar places. He finds himself in situations he can't remember entering. And this is where the real fracture begins. Unbeknownst to Jack, he's developing, or has already developed, dissociative identity disorder. While such a condition often traces back to childhood trauma, in Jack's case, it's tied to prolonged psychological stress, insomnia, isolation, depression, anxiety, emotional repression, and a life devoid of meaning. His mind, unable to cope, builds an escape hatch. There are clues scattered early. In the film, brief flashes of Tyler appear in the background before Jack ever meets him. In the narrative, Jack mentions waking up in strange locations with no memory of how he arrived, suggesting another part of him has been active while he sleeps. Later revelations that Tyler works night jobs confirm this pattern. Those weren't separate people. That was Jack, living a second life without awareness of it. But Jack himself won't understand this yet. For now, his mind is heading toward a breaking point. Then comes the meeting that changes everything. On a flight, Jack meets Tyler Durden, a charismatic, confident man with a sharp grin, a rebellious streak, and a complete disregard for social norms. Tyler is everything Jack is not. Fearless, bold, spontaneous, unconcerned with consequences. He speaks in radical philosophies about consumerism, identity, and freedom. He mocks Jack's attachment to possessions. He laughs at corporate obedience. He lives outside the system Jack feels trapped inside. Soon after, Jack returns home to find his condo destroyed by an explosion. Everything he owned is gone. The carefully assembled catalog life has literally vanished. And with nowhere else to go, he calls Tyler. They meet outside a bar. Tyler offers him a place to stay. But first, he asks Jack to hit him. Jack does. The punch lands, and in that moment, Fight Club is born. At first, it's just two men beating each other behind a bar, but word spreads. Other men show up. Men suffocating under office jobs, failed marriages, emotional repression, and quiet despair. In the basement, they find something raw and real. They fight, they bleed, they scream, they feel alive. It becomes ritual. It becomes belonging. Fight Club replaces the support groups. It's the same emotional release, just expressed through violence instead of tears. But like the support groups, it's a temporary solution, a pressure valve, not a cure. The men go back to their daily lives afterward. Nothing about their circumstances changes, only the illusion of empowerment grows. Behind it all, Tyler pushes a philosophy. He tells Jack that in order to become free, a man must hit bottom. He must lose everything. He must let his old self die. Only then can he be reborn, without fear, without attachment, without false identity. And Jack, already obsessed with death, already flirting with suicidal thoughts, clings to this idea. He doesn't fear destruction. In some ways, he welcomes it. Throughout the story, Jack's mind is full of morbid fantasies. He imagines disasters. He thinks about bodies after accidents. He wonders what it would feel like to die in a plane crash. He romanticizes the end. A man who doesn't fear death is dangerous because nothing can stop him. And Tyler harnesses that mindset, pushing Jack further down the path toward absolute collapse. Fight Club grows. It spreads to other cities. It becomes organized, structured, obsessive, and eventually it evolves into something much darker. Project Mayhem. Project Mayhem is no longer about personal release. It's about societal destruction. Tyler recruits followers, strips them of names, shaves their heads, dresses them alike, and teaches them obedience. Individual identity dissolves into the collective. Their mission becomes sabotage, vandalism, pranks, intimidation, destruction of property, and eventually, something bigger. Jack's worldview shifts. He begins imagining the collapse of civilization. He wants to tear down systems, pollute oceans, burn forests, erase the world as it is, so something new might grow. What started as personal rebellion has escalated into global annihilation. And he believes this destruction is not just acceptable, but necessary. This is where the story's moral line is crossed. Wanting change is human. Wanting a better world is admirable. But deciding to destroy the world for everyone else, regardless of cost, without consent, that's tyranny. Jack and Tyler's revolution is not democratic, it's imposed, it's fanatic, it sacrifices countless lives for a vision only they believe in. The film often softens this edge, framing Tyler as a seductive anti-hero, but the novel goes further. In the book, Jack, while under Tyler's control, kills two people: his boss, out of spite, and a city official who threatens the fight clubs. These murders strip away any illusion that Jack is simply a misguided revolutionary. He becomes a killer, not for survival, not for justice, but for ego and obsession. As Project Mayhem accelerates, Jack begins noticing cracks. He sees how blindly the followers obey. He hears his own words coming from Tyler's mouth. He senses something is deeply wrong. And eventually, the truth slams into him. Tyler is not real. Tyler is him. Every conversation, every fight, every plan, every act of sabotage, Jack has been both man and myth. He created Tyler to escape himself, and Tyler grew into a force that consumed him. Desperate, Jack tries to stop Project Mayhem. He confronts Tyler in an abandoned building. They argue, they fight, but fighting Tyler is fighting himself. No one else sees the struggle. To the outside world, Jack is just beating himself bloody. Now we reach the endings, and here the film and novel diverge in meaning. In the film, Jack realizes the only way to rid himself of Tyler is to shoot himself. He does. Tyler collapses. Jack survives. He takes Marla's hand, and together they watch buildings explode as the financial system collapses. The scene is presented almost romantically. A new world beginning. Jack and Marla together. Tyler gone. A fresh start. But the book tells a different story. In the novel, the explosives fail. The plan doesn't succeed. Jack shoots himself and falls into a coma. He imagines himself in a peaceful afterlife tended to by angels. But occasionally, those angels look suspiciously like men from Project Mayhem, men with bruises and broken noses. They whisper to Jack that everything is still going according to plan, that the world will fall, that they're waiting for him to return. In this version, the revolution lives on without him. Tyler's cancer has spread beyond Jack's mind. The movement cannot be stopped, and Jack's fate is ambiguous, trapped between recovery and relapse, between heaven and madness. And that brings us back to the core question: who was Tyler Durden? Tyler was the embodiment of everything Jack repressed: his anger, his desire for freedom, his hatred of consumerism, his longing for meaning, his willingness to burn everything down rather than continue living numb. Tyler was born from isolation, insomnia, depression, and a world that taught Jack to suppress his emotions and measure his worth in possessions. But Tyler didn't just free Jack, he radicalized him. He pushed him beyond rebellion into fanaticism, beyond dissatisfaction into annihilation. Tyler promised salvation through destruction, and Jack believed him. There is nothing inherently evil in wanting change. There is nothing wrong with rejecting shallow consumer culture. There is nothing shameful about seeking meaning beyond corporate routines. But when that desire becomes an excuse to harm others, to erase lives, to force a vision upon the world through violence, that's where the line is crossed. Jack and Tyler are not heroes. They're cautionary figures, a reminder of what happens when loneliness goes untreated, when emotional repression festers, when meaning is replaced by consumption, and when pain is answered with destruction instead of healing. Their story isn't just about a twist, it's about a man who built a monster to save himself, only to become the monster's prisoner. And that is why Fight Club still matters. Not because it teaches us to rebel, but because it warns us what happens when rebellion has no compassion, no accountability, and no regard for the cost. I hope this journey into the mind of Jack and Tyler gave you a deeper understanding of the story and its layers. Let me know your thoughts, your interpretations, and any characters you'd like explored in future videos. If you enjoyed this breakdown, consider leaving a like and subscribing for more deep dives into the psychology of iconic characters. And as always, I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.